Good morning and welcome to our first day of our masterclass. I'm so excited that you're watching and are here with us. So this masterclass is about being the best mom that you can be. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how that can happen today. We did just record this earlier with a few moms and it did not record fully. So I'm going to record again the beginning part of the Zoom, and then you can catch the discussion at the end. So you'll see it flow through as you're watching. So if you kind of see a disconnect, it's because we've kind of pieced some things together because of the way the recording went. All right. So anyway, let me go ahead and get started. Within this course, we are going to be talking about how you can be the best mom that you want to be. And each day is going to focus on a different aspect of that. For day one, we're going to talk about the why and why it is that your family functions the way it does. On day two, we're going to talk about time well spent and how to use your time wisely. And day three is communication and how to make it work effectively with your family. Each day will give you a few different things for you to take and learn and do some homework to be ready for the next day. So throughout the course, you're going to learn the 5 keys to a healthy family. You're going to learn how to create structure in your home that's going to give you more time. You're going to learn to establish goals in a time that's going to help you and your family become less overwhelmed. You're going to understand more about the brain, how it works, and also understand your family as a system. You're going to develop new communication strategies and hopefully use those skills and work with them with your children. So throughout the class, we need to make sure we respect each other, commit to all 3 days, have kindness and understanding, support, listen, accept each other, and there is no judgment. In the workbook that you got, there is some prep work that you should do. And this is for you to fill out before the first session. And you might not know all the answers, and that is okay. And it might make you feel a little uncomfortable answering some of the questions because they're hard. Some of them are hard, especially if you've never done any reflecting on your family. So don't feel like you have to share any of that. You can share as little or as much as you want. It is important for you to share some, though, because it will help us as a group. And the more that we can talk with each other, the more we're going to learn, and the more we'll learn from each other, which then makes us all be more successful. So I would like it to be interactive. So just do the best you can within the discussion. The prep work is going to have some information about your family history, and just some of the concerns and struggles that you're having. So you kind of know what to ask, what to look for as the discussions continue. So let's go ahead and get started with day one, understanding the why and why your family is the way it is right now. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, so be the mom you want to be. All right, so understanding the why, and why is that important? So knowing why something is happening is really the key to everything. It's going to help you become more empathetic, because if you know of what's behind it, you will have more understanding. You're going to begin to change your behavior, which is then going to change the other person's behavior. And it also will help you see it's not anyone's fault. It's not your fault. It's not your child's fault. It's not your husband's fault. It is what it is because of something that's happened in the past and the way someone was maybe brought up, or maybe something that occurred in their lives, right? So understanding the why is the most important piece, because if you can start to really organically feel that, it's going to really help you be more empathetic. When I was teaching, so I used to be a teacher before I did this, and I used to get pretty angry. And that's one of the reasons I left teaching, to be honest with you, is because I could not handle the behaviors in the class. And they would make me so angry, and I would get so mad at the kids. And I knew that wasn't right. And I'm like, I cannot be a teacher anymore. I cannot do this anymore. I wasn't being my best self. I felt that I was mean at times. I just wasn't being my best self. And so I decided to be a school counselor. And in that training, I learned that getting the why and really organically understanding the why will help you be more empathetic. So then when it comes to kids, understanding why they act a certain way really helped me when I went back to the schools. I was a school counselor, just understand them more and be kinder and nicer and more loving, because there's a reason that they were acting that way. There's a reason that they might be throwing a chair out the window, or not sitting in their seat, or being mean to other kids. So having more understanding and being empathetic was helpful for me, and then them also, because then I could be more of a teacher and a coach to them and help them through, because they don't want to be acting like that. Like I had this one kid, real quick, I'll tell you a short story, that I was teaching 7th grade in an inner city school, and literally I let him go to the bathroom, and he was a very angry kid, but he liked me, but he was always in trouble. He was always in the office, and we were in math, and I don't know if he was mad at me that day. I don't remember what had happened, but I sent him to the bathroom because he asked. Next thing I know, the resource officer is like, so-and-so is in the bathroom throwing chairs out the window. And I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? So now looking back, I understand why he was doing that. He came from a really rough situation. He was carrying a lot of anger. And as a school counselor, I probably could have helped him. But as the classroom teacher, I didn't really have the capacity to do that because I was trying to teach. And he was struggling with much more than learning math, right? He needed much more than my ability to teach him how to do fractions. And so that school year was a key moment for me, and where I was like, yeah, I need to move on. I need to do something different because I want to be able to understand and help the kids in a different way than fractions and algebra and all that. So understanding the why, so important for your family, your coworkers, all of it. It will help you if you can really get to that organically. Okay. The brain, understanding the brain is the other thing. So this is the part of the why that I think is really important. Did you know that at birth, the first year, a brain doubles in size? So when they say the brain is a sponge, it really is. It's growing so fast that first 5 years. It takes in so much. And so a lot of what happens to you that first 5 years determines who you are now. It impacts how your behavior, it impacts the anxiety you might carry, it impacts how you process emotion and feelings. So you can see that by age 3, it's 80% the adult size, and then age 5, it's nearly fully grown. So all those parts of the brain are taking in so much information that 5 years. A good example of this is language, like learning a foreign language. I know most of us are, in the United States at least, are not bilingual. We only speak one language, English, and in our education system, we learn language in middle or high school, which is silly because really to get a language in, you need to be learning that before like birth to 5, right? Because that's when your brain is taking in all the information. And by the time you get to high school or middle school, it can't process it as much. It doesn't process it as easily. You can do it. I know people that have done it, but it's much more challenging than if you were like a child learning at those beginning years. So just think about that for a minute, learning another language. Maybe you are a bilingual speaker. And you probably, if you're a bilingual speaker and you don't remember learning it, it's because you learned it from birth to 5. If you are a bilingual speaker and you learned it older, you probably remember it being challenging, a lot of studying, learning, listening, speaking, practicing, because it wasn't there at the beginning. So I see this a lot with my son because we are a bilingual family, and he has been learning another language since birth, but he struggles a little now because we live in the United States and we only have one parent that speaks the Spanish or speaks that other language. So it makes it a little more difficult. But what I'm trying to say with all of this is the why. Understanding why things happen have a lot to do with the brain and how fast it grows those first 5 years of life. So thinking about that, that's part of that whole why piece I want you to really be thinking about. The other thing to think about is your family as a system. Now, when I was in graduate school, I finished my program as a school counselor and was a school counselor for a few years and realized I needed more again. And so I went and did a postmaster certificate in family therapy because everything that I had learned before wasn't complete. And so as I started learning about family systems theory, I was like, this is it. This is what we all need to understand, right? So if you look at the bottom 3 pictures on this slide, we have a car with the engine, that's a system. We have the system of economics, right there, and then the operating system of a computer. Think about that and how those three systems, if something is out of place or not working properly, it's going to throw everything off. Now in our world, right, we're such a worldly economic system. When one system is off, it's going to throw everybody. And we're seeing that now with inflation, and not just here in the United States, but everywhere. It's like everything is kind of thrown off within that. So that's the same thing that happens in your family. So if I'm going to read this little paragraph to you, Kurt and Bowen do a lot with family systems theory. And I think they were like actually the people that came up with I don't know if they came up with it, but they're a big part of it. I don't really remember because it was a while, but this little paragraph explains it very clearly. Family systems theory is a theory of human behavior that defines the family unit as a complex social system in which members interact to influence each other's behavior. Family members interconnect, allowing to view the system as a whole rather than an individual element. So a system could be a mom, a dad, a sister, brother, you. It could involve a stepmom. It could involve a girlfriend, a boyfriend. It could involve stepchildren. So once all of those are kind of connected in some way, they're connected all together. And if one part of the system is not working properly, it's going to throw everything else off, right? So let me give you an example. For a mom and a dad, say you're married, right? And you're not getting along, okay? And it goes on for a little bit, and it goes a little bit longer. Now it's like 2 years where you guys are just not getting along, but you're hiding it, or you think you're hiding it from your kids. Well, I hate to tell you, but you're probably not, because they're feeling your energy. They're feeling the system is off. They're feeling the anger. They're feeling the sadness, the confusion. So they might be acting in a way that isn't their best way, right? You might have behavior problems, disrespect, anger, sadness, things out of the blue where you're just like, why are you acting like this? Well, it could be a result of that, a marriage issue. Or maybe you've had a death recently of someone very close to your family. That will also throw off the family system. Abuse will throw off the family system. Any big change, even a move could throw off the family system. Any big change can throw it off and kind of make it not work and function as well as you would like to. Now, that being all said, you can't control everything in a system. So it's really understanding the why, right? So say you have a child that's having like a really rough time, and then it clicks in your mind like, oh, maybe it's because of this. It's because this is happening in our family right now. So you know to offer that child a little more support or talk to them about it. It's very helpful. So thinking your family as a system is a very helpful way of thinking about the why. Now, this could all be so much information when I go from the brain to the family as a system. So please do not let this overwhelm you. I can hop on a call with you and we could talk about this more in depthly, or focus just on your family. You just have to let me know. I'm also going to be offering a boot camp in a few weeks in August. It's a 3-week boot camp that you can be a part of if you're interested. So let me know that too. You can just leave me a note in the chat, send me a DM, and we will hop on a call and I can explain it to you, explain how it'll work. It'll be more of an individual boot camp where we can work individually together. So just let me know if you're interested in that. Okay, so thinking about the why, now moving on to the 5 keys to a healthy family. Now, this can be for each person, or you can just think of this as yourself. It's kind of, it depends how you want to think about it. So I think their communication, you need to have good communication with your family, emotional intelligence, the way you acknowledge emotions in your family, connection, how do you connect physically or emotionally, structure, how do you structure your family life, and finally, time, the way you value time as a family. Now, all of these are very important. This can be with a single parent household. It can be with a 2-parent household. It can be if you're dealing with like interconnected families, like a divorced family. These can all connect, right? Like you can have all these different types of families. They can be a healthy family, right? Even if you're divorced, or even if someone has passed away, or even if you're dealing with other traumas in your life, you can still have these 5 keys. Because if you're divorced, you still have to communicate with the people, or you still have to connect with them in some ways. So if you are divorced, you still have to talk with someone in a way that acknowledges emotion. You can share your feelings with them. You share your child with your feelings with your child in a way that is developmentally appropriate. So this 5 keys to a healthy family can work with any type of family system, even if there's outliers, right? You can build this in. Now, again, you cannot control all the people in your family, but you can control yourself, and you can help to bring these pieces closer together. So let me go ahead and stop this. So as you're thinking about this why, and as the family as a system and the brain and all of that, I want you to think about any questions or any comments you have or thoughts about your family that pop into your head, and just write those down. And then you can share them with me, either the next Zoom we have, or send me a DM or write in the chat that you want to connect with me separately to talk about the boot camp. So for the homework tonight, what I want you to do, and this is in the workbook, you can choose one or both of the prompts to expand on. And so the first one was, what are the first 5 years like? Your first 5 for your first 5 years like as you? How do you think that impacted you? If you're married, does it impact your marriage? Do you think it impacts you as a parent now? Or you can do this prompt. How do you think today's session will help you move forward with your family? What are some things you will do differently as you parent your own children? So just be thinking about that. And remember, we can all change. It can be little changes, does not need to be big. And also give yourself grace, because none of this is your fault. There's a why to all of this. There's a reason that you act the way you do. It's not your fault. It's how you were raised or experiences that you went through. So moving forward, for tomorrow, we're going to be working on creating a schedule. So make sure you do the homework. In the workbook, there is a weekly planner and also a daily planner for you to fill out and think about as you plan your days out. And the reason this is so important is this goes back to time and how you structure your day and how this will impact your family as a whole and have a healthy family. So if you have any questions, make sure you let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the discussion that's coming up right after this. Bye. The workbook is a PDF, and it goes over all 3 days. There is the very beginning, just like a questionnaire that's for yourself to answer. And then it goes into like what we're talking about today, which would be understanding the why of why a family would be having issues or struggling. And we went just over all that just a few minutes ago. And now we're talking about the 5 keys to a healthy family. And in the workbook, it just goes over basically the same thing.
Got it.
Okay, so let me go back. And one of the things about this class too, it's really, I want it to be interactive. So if you have any questions or if you have anything that you're struggling with or want to share, please feel free to speak or ask, because that is how I think it's going to be the most helpful for you, is if you share a little or just even ask anything that, any questions you have. All right, let me go back to the screen share again. I remember how it is. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, this is the workbook. Oh, here it is. Okay, I was trying to do this before. So the workbook basically has just the contents of what we're doing, and then there's some prep work, and then we just went over this stuff here. All right, so, okay, so in your families, what parts do you feel, and Krista, feel free to share too, what parts do you feel are the most challenging or the hardest, if you think of it as a system or as the why with the brain?
So for me, we're divorced. So her dad and I are divorced, and it's been hard to kind of have that like family vibe when the households are really different. Mm-hmm. But I know that, him and I's like morals kind of lined up, but it's hard because her brain is still developing and there's a lot of tablet time at his house. So that's hard for me because I have like set parameters and things like that. And I just think like kids in general are developing way too fast because everything's in their face all the time. Mm-hmm. I'm having to have talks with her at 9 that I shouldn't, because so it's hard to adapt to, and I kind of overly parent sometimes too, because I try to parent at his house and I know that's not what I should do. So I think her brain is still developing and she's starting to realize the differences. So that's kind of where I am.
And that makes sense because, yeah, at her age, they do start to really, like before you can kind of hide stuff or just it's not, and they're starting to really understand now. They really understand what's going on. They see all parts of it. And I think what's important, what you are, I think being open and honest like you are and answering the questions and things that she has very specifically will help, right? So that will help not create trauma because you're not acting like it's not happening. You're straight up and very in front of it. And I think a lot of the problems when they happen are because people act like things are not happening and they're pretending that it's not going on. So I think that's part of what is hard, especially in a divorce. So I work with other families that have that they're divorced and they're separated. And having two sets of rules is always a very challenging thing for both parents because the kids, they try to play you too, right? They'll try to play one after the other. And they know the rules of both houses, but then they try to play off of each other, which makes it really hard. And I think I think what you're doing is just being honest, saying how you feel, even if your husband or ex-husband's not, you can even share that. Like, I know he doesn't look at it the same way I do, but this is what we're doing here. And if you're doing that, that's the best you can do for her. Okay. So in the workbook, I put, let me show you. I wanted to talk. Hold on, sorry, coming back. So when you think about so for me, at least for my family, one of the things that I've been working on recently is I've been doing some therapy on my own because, and I never knew this previously. So my parents divorced when I was 6. And prior to that, my mom said things were structured. She thought things were going well, but because of all of the trauma in the relationship with my dad and my mom, that affected me. And so I've been doing a lot of work just on my own recently, trying to address some of that so it doesn't affect my son in his development, which has been pretty helpful. So feel free to share or not, but have you ever gone back and looked at your childhood or your self in those years that birth to the 5?
Yes. Sadly. I'm the complete opposite of my mom. You know, my mom was a good mom, but she worked all the time. And so like they provided like material things, like we didn't go without clothes and stuff, but the emotional cognitive wasn't there.
Yep.
So I sometimes get overly emotional with her, or oftentimes I'm really that extra mom that was like, okay, well, we can do this and this and this. And, you know, but I've scaled it back a little bit just because like I'm in college and I'm learning things, you know, about I want to make her independent and things of that sort. Because I don't want to go to the complete extreme where, you know, my mom wasn't there for me, but then I don't like unspoil your child basically, because I've kind of coddled her too much, especially with the divorce. And now there's a new woman figure in his life. And that's been hard for me because she has a little girl and the little girl's like 3. And so while it's hard to see another woman like take on the motherly role with her, I am fortunate because she does seem like she's a really good mom. Mm-hmm. So, you know, but it's just territorial, you know, and so I'm really trying to work on that. So it's a struggle, but it starts with me, and I know that.
And that's good that you're able to see that. And that is hard because it is your child and you have this other person that's now in the loop with it. And is she able to help keep the structure in the home with your ex-husband? Does she help with that? Or are you able to connect with her to kind of?
I think I'm to the point where I would like to connect with her. Let me just give you a for instance. She was out of town this weekend and it was his weekend. And Ella had her tablet taken away for a few weeks. And so she got it back. I've been sick and he's been sick. And not that that's a babysitter, but it does entertain her a little bit with some learning games. And she literally called me yesterday and was like, Mama, because I went to the pool. Like I had to get out of this house. And so she's like, please, can I go swimming? Please, please. Daddy, mama's at the pool. Can you take me to her? And like, so he dropped her off and I let her swim with me. And she's like, she said to me, and it like broke my heart. She said, like, I don't need that one-on-one time with him that you say. Like, Chelsea and Olivia are out of town. So it bothers me because she could care less about spending time with him and he doesn't spend time with her.
Right.
He's in the other room or not that a child needs to be babysat the whole time, but you do need to be present and he's not good at that. And so this woman has added kind of a little bit more of they do things together. And I mean, her child is 3 and so she has her child all the time. So that's helped a lot with him. But I thought to myself yesterday, I thought, oh my gosh, I hope they don't break up. Like, oh my gosh, because she, oh my gosh. And like, it breaks my heart that because I constantly tell him how much one-on-one time with her is important from her dad. And she has no interest.
Okay. And I think that's interesting that you thought that, like, I hope they don't break up whenever you are struggling with the relationship piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's hard. But if you ever could connect with her and she could help put the structure in, that's a good idea for you to maybe.
Yeah. It's just being the big, and I'm like, okay, but it's not about me, it's about her. So.
And I think men struggle. I mean, I don't want to put men in a box, but I do think they do struggle more with that kind of structure. And because there is something about being a mom, that motherly role, that connection that I just don't think dads always. I think it comes just in different ways and in different times. And I think the mom adds so much to it. So she probably does have her own feelings about that and how she isn't connecting with him because he is not, maybe it's not the stage that she needs to be at with him to connect, or it's she's not feeling it, and she's being honest when she says it, and it's coming from like a your place.
Yeah,
totally. Laura, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Yeah, you were saying one time I read a book and I mean we don't have a structure, like and I mean I had never had a structure, but I think all my family, like my family has done very well, but I think it was because my dad, we sweep everything under the rug. Kinda. I mean, my dad was, and I think I'm doing it with Martine, and I need to be more empathetic. I mean, my mom died when I was 19. And then my brother died like within like 2 months. So my dad was always like, cry all you want, but life goes on, and so we are really tough, right? And so sometimes I guess I'm not very empathetic. I am, but I'm not, because sounds like a friend, just her mom died, so I am very bold. So I said, it hurts right now, but in 2 years from now, you're going to be able to laugh, and because that's why, so my thing is I just wanted to find a way to, like on Friday, I told Martine, this is what we're going to do, right? And I put a calendar or whatever for the day. And then I forgot the next day because I don't have a structure, right? So if you don't have the habit,
Yeah.
and then that was like, you have the intention, but you don't have the, I mean, sometimes you like literally put the board right there by the kitchen sink, right? So then I said, okay, well, we said, let's do this, that. So at least the way that I try to figure out is if I do 3 things out of that list, I guess it's a start.
It is. Yeah.
Right,
Start
but I
small.
wanted to have a structure because it works for him. I know it works for him, but it's very hard since I never run with a structure to be able to do it for him. And it's just like her. And I guess it has to be a trauma because when I tell Martin, get out of the tablet, it's a fuss for like 5 minutes, but that fuss is more powerful, the fuss, that sometimes I don't do anything and I know that I'm letting him down just because I don't want to hear the fuss. But after every time that I said no, he cries or he does everything, but then after an hour, he's fine,
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I guess, I don't know if it's a trauma from before that I just don't want to deal with it, or maybe because my dad, everything is fine and then just move on. So I guess that's a trauma, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head. I do think that your dad saying that, right? You didn't process all the emotion you probably needed to process because you were just like, yeah, he's right. We just need to move on. It's over. We need to move on. And so you probably still have grief from that you never processed thoroughly during that time. And I don't know if that relates to Martine with the crime, but it could be, it very well could be connected with that. And that's something you could explore in yourself, right? You can explore in yourself doing therapy or whatever it is, that just to see and to help you be able to handle it better. And then with the iPad, I was going to say that happens with us too. So even like Jose, my husband's kids, when they were little, anytime we had them get off of that iPad or the Switch, they would freak out. And they all do that. And then once it's gone, they're fine. But that technology has so much power. And because they're so little, the brain is so little, they can't control their emotion. They really can't. The brain is just not, it's not cognitive. It's just not able, because there's so much power in the technology and it's so addictive that I would say 90% of the kids that try to get off, you try to get them off something if they've been on it a while, are going to do that same thing, Laura.
Yeah.
It is so hard. Oh my God.
It is. It is, but I know that we are not doing the best that we can.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I told my husband yesterday, I was like, he was supposed to leave at 8:00 in the afternoon on Friday. He didn't get home until 5:00 in the morning because the flight keeps getting delayed.
Oh gosh.
And but I said, we need to tell him he was already like 5 hours. So like, we need to get him out and then it worked out. It's like, it was hard, but we got it. And then we tried to go and ride bikes to the park and then it was fine. Like, we just need to try harder to don't excuse the technology and to just be out.
Is he using an iPad, like an Apple iPad?
No, he's right now, the only thing is not that he's watching so much YouTube, but he got into basketball, like N2K is a basketball game. So he plays that, it's no Fortnite, it's no guns, it's anything. It's just this basketball game, and he is addicted to it.
Yeah.
But too, so he likes basketball, and he actually learned a lot about basketball players and games and all the stuff. So we put him now in a basketball camp. It's in Charlotte. It's like division, or I don't know. Like, it's a really good camp. It's only 3 days, and then I got a coach to come to the house twice a week to do basketball because he really likes it. So, but I'm trying to do all these things, but it's only like an hour or two, right? So I talked to the coach, I like, are you gonna give him homework he's like, let me get him very comfortable. And then, we can do this just to trying to get him out of the tablet. And then our excuse is like, there is no kids in the neighborhood, but, which is hard because when we used to live in Williamsburg Plantation, he will always be like literally, or the kids will be at my house or they will be playing, but it's hard to get him. But he's like 5 hours, 6 hours, if you count all the hours on the day, he's on that game.
Oh, wow. Okay. So some of the tablets and they have within the system, you can have it shut off on its own. So depending on what he has, it wouldn't even be you having to tell him. And I don't know if you've tried that, Kathy, but they'll, like, if you have an iPad, you can actually control it from your own phone and it'll just shut off. And then there's nothing, you don't have to say anything. It just doesn't work anymore for them. So I don't know what kind of system that you guys have, but there is a way to do that. Or I don't know if you
I mean, this is the line. I mean, okay, I can ask you. So can we say, I don't know, like, I don't know what's happening?
You could if he was younger. You can't do it. He's not going to get it. He's too old now.
Yeah.
He was like 5 or 6. I would say, yeah, but now he's too old. And I'd be like, we're done. You're done with it for today.
Yeah.
And that's why it's turned off. It's no more. We're not having, I mean, it's just the new rule. And I think if the more you do that, it's just going to become easier. It's just hard at
Yes.
first. And especially like you're saying, if you're not consistent, he's going to know that.
Yes. Yeah, I know. I mean, like, and I know, like, one day or Tuesday, I said, that's it. I was asking him something and he was waiting and he was rude. So I was like, this is it. And I disconnect the whole internet in the house. So like, this is it.
Oh, there you go.
But the next day, like, when I said something, he was very, like, it didn't take me to ask him like 3 times. He was like, yeah, let me do it. So I guess he got his, but I'm not consistent, and I need to be consistent.
Yeah. Or even like, if you can do that, turning the internet off, like keep it off until like 10 a.m. or something. I mean, I know you might need it. So that's the only thing, but like having it off from like 7 to 10 or something where he just can't, it's impossible for him to even get on it. I mean, one of the things that's really good about that age, this 9 to 10, you still have so much control.
I have your words in, like, the first time that we did a session, you told me you only have, 2 years, and right now it's like a year and a half, like once that is 12, it's like a different ball game. And so I'm very conscious of that.
Okay, good. Yeah. Because you still have all this control. I would just start just being as consistent as you can. And if you feel like it's part of your trauma that's holding you back, doing something to work on figuring out why that's happening within you.
Yeah.
Because I think too, even though if you're married or not, you still have to figure out like what it is you're doing to contribute to it, or what it is. And that we all are doing, because even if the husband is there, they have their own part that they're doing. You still have to figure out yours to figure out why it's not working for you. And I think it's with your structure piece. I think it's good breaking it up small, like maybe just doing the mornings where you just try to do a morning very structured and then forget about the rest of the day if it's hard for you to keep it.
Yeah, it was. I think you can just give me an idea of like, you can do whatever until like 2 o'clock or whatever, because then in the afternoon, anyway, it's gonna come like school now very soon. And then because I said like, let's read a book, and he always said, we read a book at nighttime, because that's when he used to read the books. But by nap time, I'm tired, So maybe I shut it up, after 4 o'clock, the computer is done, and then figure out what to do. And then we home by that time, and
definitely. Yeah. It'll get easier the more consistent you are. It's just, he's going to know if not.
I think I'm gonna write down something on my TV, say consistency. Like those letters I used to put on the computer.
Yeah.
Just a reminder or something.
Yeah, that is so important, the consistency. And I think I learned that the most when I was teaching, because I used to be a teacher, and kids they'll figure it out, like consistency and structure. Because if you are consistent and have structure, it's hard for them to manipulate. It's hard for them to, and I mean, I learned that teaching, because at first it didn't go well. And then as time went on, it got better because I became more assertive, more structured, and more consistent with the kids. So anyway, I want to wrap up really quick. For tomorrow, if you're planning to join us, there is well, you can do a reflection. In the homework, it says choose one or both of the prompts to think about, and then what were your first 5 years like, and how it impacted you, and then how do you think today's session will help you? And then tomorrow we're going to create a schedule of your week, and in the workbook I sent, there is a weekly planner and a daily planner, and you can do both or you can do one. So we're basically going to be talking about how to structure your time and why that is important to keep things moving smoothly within your family. But yeah, do you guys have any other questions for today?
No.
No, this was helpful. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah. Well, hopefully you guys will be back tomorrow, and we'll be here at the same time. And if you need anything before then, feel free to send me a message or whatever.
So some of my friends that I invited, of course, are working right now. They can log in and see our class later.
Yeah, they could watch it. Yeah, they could watch it.
Awesome.
All right.
Good.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. You guys have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.